Welcome to the Third Degree Masonic Podcast, where we are always on the level. I'm your host, Brother Samuel.
And I'm your co-host, Brother Gabriel.
And I'm your co-host, Brother Turco.
Yeah, he's on this one too.
Yeah, he's on this one too.
So, Craftsman, as we are hitting our halfway point for Season 1 of the podcast, we thought it would be relevant to sit down, maybe reflect on our previous episodes, and maybe find some really high points for us and talk about maybe what we've learned. So, how do you guys think everything's going so far?
Honestly, I think everything's going pretty good. We're getting good engagement. We're getting good retention, especially for us having, in terms of podcasts, just started. We're doing pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like what we were kind of talking about before, Brother Samuel, before we started. That's weird. I'm never going to call you
Never do that again.
Before the recording is the stuff we're putting out is similar but different at the same time. Like we just recorded the Scottish Rite, the two valleys that are very close to us, and it's something we've never done. We've never recorded the Scottish Rite, but we've talked to other people. We've talked to Time for Fellowship. We kind of had them on one of our episodes and we kind of shot the shit with them. And then we also talked with Brother Murphy and kind of got his story. So it's along the same lines, but it's also different. And I think that alone is showing our listeners, viewers, the people following us that we're worth listening to.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep doing what we have been.
Well, and we're consistent at least.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, and
probably a big bonus for us is being consistent.
Well, and we didn't get into this whole thing to make $1 billion and be the Joe Rogans of the Masonic experience. So we really,
that'd be cool, but
yeah, I mean, it'd be cool, but it's
Joe Rogan, if you're listening, we'd love to be on your podcast.
Or come be on ours. I mean, you're not a Mason, but hey, I'll make an exception. So,
I mean, we also kind of went into this with a plan, but without a really detailed plan. We were kind of like, you know what? This is what the rough idea of our podcast is going to be, and we're going to kind of roll with it. And
yeah,
for us, not sitting here and going, okay, the first month, this is the episode we're going to release, and then we got to record this one, and then we got to release it, and then we got to do this, and then this. We're doing pretty damn good. I mean, we're, 14 episodes in, and no, we don't have 14 more episodes planned out for the next few months, but we're still rolling, still getting in the schedule.
Well, and I think we started this whole thing with a plan of what we were going to do, and then, situation kind of changed because rather than us having to hunt down people to be on the show, now we're getting people asking to be on the show, and that is
reaching out to us.
That's an honor, in my opinion. It's a good problem to have. So a lot of the planned episodes that we had have kind of taken a back seat to, some of these opportunities that I think have really, really paid off. And I think it was really good content. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, just talking about most recently, I had a absolute blast working with the other podcasters and sitting down with the Time for Fellowship guys and just getting to see, like what they talk about in their show, like getting to see a piece of what it's like to be a Mason in their area.
Yeah.
And then, sitting down with 357 Studios and us being in the hot seat has just been, a surreal experience because I think that was the moment, because these guys are talking about how they reference us all the time and, they listen to our stuff all the time. And, that was kind of a moment where I was like, wow, like someone else listens to what I'm saying.
I think the surreal moment for me with talking with them, even the Time for Fellowship, was just like they posted on our Facebook, did we just become best friends? I think we just became best friends. And that's legit how it happened. We were just shooting the shit, talking, and you pick up, even though, as Gabe likes to say, they're in Missouri, They're not.
Right.
Minnesota.
Or yeah,
Minnesota.
Sorry,
but
guys.
they're like states away, but we're still so similar. We're still brothers. We became best friends just by talking to them for 5 minutes.
I mean,
Saying,
I think that's really about the point of this fraternity.
yes,
Is that you can meet someone from anywhere, and if they're a good Mason, like the guys at Time for Fellowship are, they hold to the ideas of Freemasonry of another Mason's your brother, no matter
Right.
what. And
Well, and
they treated us with open arms and
and I
great
know
courtesy. It was great. It was
I
a
know
great
you
interview.
weren't there for our sit down with 357 Studios, but they had their own Gabe on the show.
I've got to meet other brother Gabe.
Well, he's a entered apprentice,
Yep.
getting ready to take his fellow craft.
I think
And
it's happening next week or the following week.
I think that's what they said. But that was really cool to sit down with them, and they have a kind of an open-ended experience being on their show. It wasn't, they didn't have 80,000 questions planned, and it wasn't, they were just going with the flow and hanging out, and we were just learning about each other organically. And
yeah. I
they
mean,
they felt like the kind of guys you'd get a phone call from them like, hey, I'm having a bonfire, come over, and you would
Yes.
hang out till 3:00 in the morning.
Yes. I mean, like the first part of our interview or us talking with them, if you remember correctly, brother Gabe wasn't there. And he's like, oh, yeah, he's probably going to come in sometime. And it's like, okay, whatever. It was just a fun conversation with them. And I kind of went back to Time for Fellowship, but the Studio 357, it just cemented that, hey, this isn't just one in a gemstone. This is, I mean, I can't speak for every single Masonic podcast, but the ones that we've reached out to and talked to, even the brothers from out of states and stuff, it's like, holy cow, we're all brothers.
Right.
Like, that's not just a word.
It felt like talking to your cousins.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Like
hey,
going
I
to-
haven't
well,
seen you in a while.
Going to your reunion, hey, how you been? Haven't, oh my God, you're my cousin? Oh,
Yeah.
didn't know that.
I was actually just talking about something like this last night with one of my squad mates who is considering petitioning Freemasonry. And I was telling him a story about how I was out of town. I was way out of town, some podunk gas station in the middle of nowhere. And a guy, I don't know if he was on a motorcycle, but he had a motorcycle jacket, but he had like square and compass and other stuff on it. And we did the you traveling man handshakes and everything. And it was like we've known each other forever. And it was like we were old friends. And
Actually, it's really funny you say that, because we went to Ryan's bachelor party. We went to Columbus for Origins Game Convention.
Yes. Yep.
It was a large convention of more or less board games, but also Dungeons and Dragons and dice dealers, and you got to get
The geeky
the
nerd
creepy
stuff.
nerdy stuff. And we were standing in line. And they had one of those,
nerd.
right? Had one of those like root beer stand guys where they've got like all the billions of kinds of root beer and flavored
Beer,
pops,
beer,
ginger beer, orange pop.
like all that stuff.
And you pay for the cup, and then you can have all the free refills you want. They do them at the tractor pulls all the time. But Wild Bill something or other.
Yeah.
We were standing in line to get our next cup, and I saw this guy who was wearing a motorcycle jacket, old. This dude's seen some miles. And we got to talking with him, and I saw he had a square and compass on the front, he had a square and compass on the side, and all these different symbols that we know. And I just walked right up to him and I went, "What's going on, traveling man?" And he turned and looked at me, and I shook his hand, and we were best friends.
Yeah.
He just stood in line talking about masonry, and he's traveled all the way from, I think he said, Virginia
Wow.
on his bike to come to this game-thon thing. He can't even buy anything because he doesn't have the saddle, room in his bags for it. But he just enjoys board games. If he bought anything, he was gonna have to ship it home. But same idea. I mean, it was just like, huh. Hey,
Well,
how's it going?
that's incredible. Now this has kind of turned into a like Masonic Reflections episode, not just a Masonic podcast episode. But while we're on this topic of stuff that has happened out in the world, I went to a midget wrestling event,
Oh my God.
and all of it was
People.
themed. All of the actually no, they were very adamant about not calling them little people.
Yeah,
It was very interesting. Like
they're
they were
against it.
they were like
Wow.
they were standing up here. We're like, we are the midget fighting league. We are not the little people fighting league.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
Sorry
like, whatever,
about that.
I know, Peter Dinklage, I got it.
so they were all themed characters, and I got to talking with the wrestler who was themed as Elvis,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a Mason from Tennessee.
That's cool.
And so he and I were doing the things and everything, and he came down into the crowd later after he was done with his set, and we went to the concession booth together, and he got me a shirt for free, and it says on the shirt, "I support microaggression." And he's a
Should have had
he
him
makes
sign
his
it.
living as a
Wrestling.
midget wrestler
Yeah.
impersonating as Elvis.
Oh my God.
And
it's
he's a
great.
Mason from Tennessee.
That's
Like it's the most amazing thing
Did you give
ever.
him a business card or a
I,
sticker?
I actually, well, no, this was before we started the podcast. This was long before
Oh
the
my God.
podcast.
If you can find him, I would love to have him on our show.
Oh, that would be incredible,
Gabe,
brother. If you ever hear this, I'm sorry that I don't remember your name because it's been so long. But please reach
Get a
out
hold
to
of
the
us.
podcast. Get a hold of us. We'd love to have you on the show.
Gabe, I need you to go down to Tennessee and just start screaming for
Go
the
to
guy.
every midget wrestling competition in Tennessee you can find.
Yes.
Well, no, they travel all over, so I'll just have to be like a circus carny driving around chasing the midget wrestling events.
You'll be a
to fight
roadie.
this guy. Yeah, I'll be a roadie.
So anyway,
But before you get started, Sam, kind of trying to get us back on topic a little
Yeah.
bit, if
Yeah,
you
of
will.
course.
I kind of actually have a question for, I guess, all three of us.
Sure.
So obviously in front of us, we have a list of the 14 episodes that we've released.
Sure.
We have technically kind of two categories, either an interview or a topic. I want you guys to pick one and say what you like about it, what you kind of want to do in the future. It could be either a topic like the cartoons, Ronin Masons, or it could be an interview with Ricky Staler, Charles Murphy, and kind of.
so
And-
one of each or only one?
Let's go with one of each. I think that would be good. And
Okay.
also, I know we usually tie this in at the end, but I kind of want to hear about the listeners too. Like, just comment in this. Hey, I really like this. Just so we can see, are we on the right page? Are we
Right.
going in the right direction? Or should we lean a little bit towards one?
Are you gonna offer your opinion too? On the
Unfortunately, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Good. Well, and you're absolutely onto something, Ryan, because the only way we're going to know what we should do more of first is if we hear from you guys, listeners. I mean, I can guess all I want, and I can say, and think, oh, this will be great, but, it's all ultimately up to you guys. So we would love to hear from you. You can catch us at our email address, the Third Degree Masonic Podcast @gmail.com. You can leave us comments and messages on Facebook. You can even call us now. We have a automatic voicemail where we can get your messages in real time. And you can leave us a voicemail. Tell us what you think. If you got any ideas, the phone number is 419-855-2660. And we may even, if you've got a really good review for us or you say some really nice things, we may even feature you on the show. I have the ability to do that now.
Or if you have a question and you want to put it on, please tell us your name, your lodge, or where you're from, because we may actually bring it up.
I mean, I'd love to do a Q&A episode
That would
of
be amazing.
Craftsman and Brothers questions. for the
But we got to
podcast.
get some questions first.
That is true, Craftsman. If you give some questions for us, we'll answer them on the podcast.
Well, since Ryan introduced the initial question,
Yeah.
I think it's only fitting that he goes first.
You're an ass.
I am.
I was really hoping I was going to be last so I could just
No.
do what brother Dewey did and say,
Yeah.
ditto.
Ditto.
Oh, But oh Lord, topic wise, I have to say I kind of have like a two-parter, if you will. So our very first episode, World War II, it was very good. It was a very good first step. But it's kind of those topics, and we've been told by people is, oh, don't do World War II because everyone has done an episode of that. Everyone's kind of, for a lack of better terms, beating a dead horse.
Right.
They're just keep talking and it's the same stuff.
Sure.
But I think right out of the gate, it was one of our best steps forward. So that one has a special place in my heart. And then I'm sure you're going to agree with it, brother Sam. God, I said it again, and that still feels weird every single time. Is the cartoons episode?
Yeah.
Is not just because it's like, oh, this is way out of left field or whatever. This is just funny and stuff. But it kind of makes me look at it and think about all the things that I saw growing up. And I mean, not lately because I'm planning a wedding, but I'm a huge gamer and stuff. And it made me think of, well, what video games have these meanings or these symbols or these teachings that I'm not even paying attention to. And I guess a spoiler alert or whatever you want to call it, but I've started doing some research maybe for a future episode of Masonic history or traditions or whatever in video games.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted.
Yes. So that would have to be my topics is World War II and cartoons. For interviews, God, that's impossible to say whose interview I liked the most.
I would say it's less which one is like your best or the favorite. I would say which one do you think you learned something from? Which one made you go, I never knew that.
I guess brother Mark Allred or brother Todd Williams, just for the fact of I got an insight look and listen to their background. Things I never knew they went through, they experienced, they teach, and what changed them and made them who they are. I mean, I've known Brother Allred since I've come to Genoa, and I may or may not, I cannot legally dispose if I hide his water bottle from here and there. But he's a great guy, and after listening or interviewing him and listening and stuff, I'm like, holy cow, this guy has so much more than what's on the surface. And same thing with Brother Williams. I mean, I've only seen him a few times here and there in inspections and stuff. And to be honest, sorry, Brother Williams, I kind of felt like he was stick up his rear kind of guy. And, oh, this isn't right. But after talking to him before and after the meeting, I'm like, this guy's cool. I'm going to get a beer with him. I want to just hang out with him. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it's picking one, but two for both.
But it's neat because I too feel like with both of those interviews, we're talking about two guys who are very responsible Masons. And I say that in the fact that they have taken on positions of responsibility within the district and in, Masonry in Northwest Ohio. It couldn't function without the work that they do.
Yes.
But they also take on these positions that require them to be overseers of the work. And to sit down with them in such a casual manner and get their personal, we don't get that in a meeting. So to sit down and find out that your district deputy is, an environmental lawyer who, wife and kids at home and is just as much of a goofball as the rest of us.
It's like when you meet your grade school teacher outside
of school
for the first
you're
time.
like, oh,
you're a real person?
My favorite thing is, because this happened to me after high school, is I met a few of my teachers and I went to be like, hi, mister. And I was like, oh, wait, no, you're not. Like, you are still my teacher, but you're not my teacher. I'm like, I don't know how to talk to you right now because, yeah.
When I got out of high school, it was the funniest thing in the world. I got drunk with my old band teacher. That was great. That'll definitely screw you up for life. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And what about you, Brother Gabriel?
So As you all know.
knows. It's cool. Continue.
Shut up, Ryan. So, as you all know, I'm the big World War II, all types of history buff. So, the World War II episode was kind of, I led the way a little bit with it, with its discussion.
You did?
And everything. And it has a nice place in my heart, but it's not my favorite topic. I really do like the cartoon episode because the Simpsons episode has a special place in my heart because that episode is kind of why my father petitioned.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, because he didn't know, he wasn't a big Simpsons fan. And then when I joined Freemasonry, he was just happened to be watching The Simpsons, and that episode
He
came
wanted to become a stonecutter.
and, well, he asked me, is like, is this what this is? Is this what Masonry is like? And I was kind of joking with him a little bit. And I was like, kinda,
Sorta.
sort of.
Kinda.
Or disagree with your statement.
So, because one of the funniest parts of that episode is when the plumber and Homer pull up their shirts and they
Like
both have the
stonecutter
stonecutter shirts, and he fixes his pipe right away.
Like 2 seconds. Done.
Yeah, done. And it's just great. But I would have to say, especially because I've gone back and re-listened to it multiple times, the Ronin Masons topic, I think is my favorite episode. You don't have to be angry that I picked that as my favorite. You can pick that one as your
Once you
favorite
pick
too.
one, he's not allowed to be. So he can't do World War II, can't do
What?
cartoons.
No,
Ronin.
because
So-
you talked about World War II. I talked about
Yeah,
World War II.
have talked about, you finished it, so now World War II
Anyway.
cartoon stuff.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well,
Joe.
fine then. I'll leave you. You can talk about
No,
the
no,
Ronin
I
Masons,
no, because I would like to find out why it is you like that episode so much.
So it's
Well.
no, it's just kind of weird because I know we've only technically done 14 episodes, but this has been a lot of man-hour work. This has been a lot of effort and time, and I don't always remember all of the conversations or every part of the interviews that we do, and I had kind of forgotten a lot about what we talked about in that episode. And as I've gone through it multiple times, it really it really makes me think about some of the challenges facing the fraternity and how we can move forward. Because despite the fact that the episode is a little more like gray on its demeanor, it actually makes me really hopeful because we want to do better. It's not a complaint episode. It's not a these are things wrong episode. It's a we're human episode. These are things that happen in the human fraternity that is Freemasonry. And let's do what the fraternity teaches us to do and do better in the future. And that's why I really like it, because I think it has a really, really good message and a really powerful personal story from you.
Yeah, it's my mother is probably our biggest fan. Like in all trueness, she is constantly listening to our episodes. She is, as nerdy as that sounds, she is constantly giving out our business cards when she meets somebody at her job
Oh,
that's a
awesome.
Mason.
That's
You know, a couple of her supervisors at work are Masons, and she's pushing us hardcore. And, you know, she's always telling me, oh, you guys need any money for the podcast? Do you need, any of this? Do you need any of that? So it was one of those episodes I was really worried about how it was going to make her feel, because it's a very personal story, but it's a side of that whole situation in our family that I never talked about. And it's kind of one of those things like you don't bring it up because you're not trying to reopen the scab. And it really was kind of cathartic for me to get it out there and tell that story. And it was nice that there's a really good story to learn. There's something to learn from it. But it was also really nice because my mother and I got to sit down and have a talk about some stuff that we had never talked about before. And she was like, I never realized you were going through that and that happened. And, I'm really happy that Masonry had you when, she had to be there for Dad. Dad needed her full attention. I was not put to the wayside, but like I was like a cat.
Well, that's what happens with husband and wife, is they're through the bad and through the good, through the in sickness and in health.
And she was just happy that I had, I mean, she knew I had you guys, but like she was just happy in the worst, probably part of the worst times of that. I had somebody, and it was a Masonic brother,
Mhm.
and that was really nice. So I agree with you. I think that's one of my favorites. What about interview-wise?
As far as interviews go, I love the Time for Fellowship interview.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that was
great.
That was great because, like, I've met Masons from all over the country. I've met Masons who are travelers from other countries. I've met a lot of brothers in a lot of different lodges in Ohio that I've traveled to. It was amazing to see kind of like slice of life from them, because we didn't just talk about their lodge and the stuff they do. We actually talked about them and their jobs and everything. And it's kind of like that slice of life of like, we all are just your average everyday Mason. And it was nice to know that this fraternity that I love so much and it has impacted me so much in my daily life is the same for someone else multiple states away.
Right.
It was because I always tell people about stuff like that. I always tell people when they ask about the fraternity, like, what are the benefits, what goes on? And I point to stuff like that that's happened in my life before. But it was nice to just be able to sit down and talk with them and have that reinforced even more.
Yeah. And it was very, very similar to working with Studio 357 in the same manner. It was just nice, like you said, to know that Masonry is so interconnected. And I think that's part of why I listened to both of those shows. But Time for Fellowship was the first one I actually seriously started listening to. And I guess it just listening to them reminded me of us, very much, the way they interact, the way that they, talk to their guests, and
kind of felt like we're at lodge with our other brothers, friends, and just shooting the shit and just having a good laugh and like just having a good time.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, working with those guys has been great. And I really look forward to having Studio 357 on our show at some point and returning the favor, because if you guys didn't check out Ryan and my's interview with them, they're fun guys.
And the best part of that interview is we can't just hide behind a microphone. It's on video too.
It was on video.
So they can see how stupid we actually
can watch me pick my nose. So I guess it's my turn then.
Yep.
So I would say I'm going to start with my favorite interview, and I'm going to say it would be
changing the toddy.
You're right. I think mine was our first interview with Brother Taylor. Honestly, I think because we didn't really know what we were doing yet.
Yeah.
We were sitting down, how are we going to do this? What's our baseline? He set our baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And
he set a good baseline.
He really did. And honestly, I just remember when I thought about starting this podcast, I think even before I talked to either of you guys and roped you into it, I called and asked him if he would be our first interviewee, and he was all about it.
Yep.
I mean, just enthused, happy to help in any way he could. And, for those of you that maybe might not have checked out that episode, Brother Taylor was my martial arts instructor when I was probably about 12 or 13. And I have got my first degree black belt under him when I was 16. And he is the reason I joined Masonry. Well, in a long form way, he got me into DMLA, which then got me into Masonry. And it's a kind of another surreal experience because, Ryan, you might not understand this because you were talking about like, okay, you see your teacher outside of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a guy who used to kick my butt 3 days a week
In the
And-
nicest way.
in the nicest way, and used to fold me up like a pretzel and chuck me across the mat because I got mouthy, to him being my dad advisor in DeMolay, not in an official capacity, but as a Mason, he was a dad advisor here at Genoa. And then to grow up, and he's now my brother.
Yep.
And it's a surreal change of environment, especially like, look at Dad Gorsuch.
Mhm.
Went from being Dad Gorsuch to Chris, Brother Chris. Or Ted Korn being Dad Korn beforehand. It's such a surreal change of
corn.
now it's just Korn, or Ted. But it's a weird change of pace. So to sit down with my old mentor that has literally seen me grow up and learn things about him that I would have never asked him in casual conversation and set the baseline for this show. He really did set the baseline for how we were going to do interviews from there on out. And I think we've more or less kept them the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to that first statement that I had is we're very similar, but different. It's still going to be roughly the same questions we ask, but we're going to get different outcomes. We're going to get different stories. We're going to get different statements. I mean, Brother Taylor, his statement, and correct me if I'm wrong and my memory's hazy, but show me a man who stopped learning and I'll show you a man who's put down his working tools.
Correct.
Brother Murphy was embrace the brotherhood.
Embrace the fraternity.
Yep. Brother Crow, his was, I want to say, don't be afraid to take the first step.
Yes.
Yep. And then, like, obviously I'm skipping around here a little bit, but we kind of all had similar statements, but they're a little different. Little like, don't be afraid to keep learning, embracing new outcomes, new situations, and don't be afraid to take that step, because in the end, in the grand scheme of everything, it's going to be good. It's going to be a story worth telling.
It'll pay off.
Yes. Now, obviously, we're going to keep the way we're going here. Sorry, Gabe is dying of heat stroke, apparently.
Yeah, because we don't have AC or the fans going on right now.
It's
And it's
9 degrees.
Maybe in here, but it's also muggy and like 94 degrees outside.
Oh, you'll be okay. You worry outside.
Bunch. But anyways, going back to the question that I was going to try and get us to, obviously we're going to keep doing this, assess the great things we're doing of interviews and subjects. But I want to get a point of view from both of you guys. Which do you admire that we do more, the interview sections or the topic sections, and why? We just saying for the viewer or listeners.
Well, we just kind of had this conversation before pre-recording today doing stuff.
Yeah, but now we're on recording, so I want to write it down and stick it to.
I'm getting to that. If you would.
Children. Jeez, oh, Pete.
This is usually how it goes before me fighting and Sam trying to break us up.
Craftsman, this is a great little
Behind the scenes?
behind the scenes,
Yeah.
how the magic happens.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
it ain't Disneyland.
Reel,
The blooper reel, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put out an episode someday that's a blooper reel of all of this.
and then get instantly shut down for all the things we say.
But as I was saying, as we were talking about earlier, we kind of set about on this podcast with the idea of doing interviews, preserving Masonic history. And I like that. I really do. But I think our special episodes that are having good messages to them, I'm starting to resonate with those a little bit more than the actual interviews, because I love, like you were saying, categorizing their outros and their words of wisdom stuff. I think that's great. I think we could do a post about that on our social media page. But I mean, I really like the special episodes because they're getting people engaged. They're really it's the work we'll do on the special episodes that will bring more people in, that will then have those people see the interviews more.
Right.
So we'll do good interviews like we always do, and we'll do stellar special episodes because people will love the special episodes and then they'll love the interviews.
Yeah.
But I'm really, really liking the special episodes.
I really enjoy doing the interviews. 2 reasons. One, I kind of started this with the idea, from not knowing my grandfather's history. So that's kind of why I like them, is because we are recording our brothers' histories forever. I mean, they're up in airspace right now. So one day, Liam will be able to hear you say your stories about masonry, and maybe that will be the deciding factor if he joins or not.
Maybe.
Or, Liam's son,
Mm-hmm.
God willing, you're not,
The last
yeah.
of my
And-
mind.
And 2, I feel like I really enjoy these interviews because so far, everybody that we've had on the show, short of the podcast guys, we know them. They are fixtures in our district. But I feel like I'm getting to know them in a way that I would never get to know them in Lodge. I mean, there's just not the time.
Yep.
But to be able to sit down with, Brother Williams or Brother Allred, or even sitting down with the Scottish Rite guys, it was very cool to be able to sit down with these guys and get to know them as a person, what their story is.
Yep.
And now I feel like when I see these people out in public, I shouldn't say public, when we see them at Masonic events, I feel like I know them even better.
Yes.
Like, they're not just guys that are a part of my organization. I'm like, wow, these guys have, whole life outside of here just like I do. And, they're interesting people. And that resonates with me.
Mhm.
So don't worry, listeners. You'll still get a good mixture of both.
Yep. We're not changing. We're still going to be 50-50. There may be times where we're heavy in the interviews and light on the topics, but there will come time where it's the exact opposite.
Right. Well, and you got to think that the topic episodes definitely take us a lot more time.
Yes.
Because we're not trying to, jump in feet first without researching a topic before we talk about it, because we don't want to be caught with egg on our face.
Oh, well, this isn't how it actually is. This is what it was.
Right.
Oh,
Especially like the World War II episode. Like, we
Yes.
really had to get that right.
Yes.
And
We didn't want to screw that up. So,
and cartoons was easy.
yep.
We didn't have any problem with that. And what other episode? Oh, the Ronin one, was just my story.
Yep.
I mean, you want to fact check me on that? Like,
And
good
I've
luck.
got a couple of we've brainstormed some topic ideas.
Yeah.
We got some
I want to do
books.
I want to do Masons on the Titanic.
Oh,
I'll handle that one. I can
that'd
do
be
that one.
cool.
Yeah.
So
I do remember when you guys kind of first came to me and talking about, oh, we're going to do interviews and we're going to do topics and stuff. A, I kind of thought you guys were full of shit and this was never going to get off the ground.
Right.
And B, I thought, well, I can handle the topics because I can research the shit out of those. I can
but you can't work or like, and you also can't go through one interview without swear words.
Shut up. Shut up, Gabriel. But I can research the crap out of those and just I can man those and whatnot. And to be honest, I thought, oh, the interviews are going to start off strong, but they're going to kind of go to the wayward and we're going to stop doing those. But then after we started interviewing people, I was like, oh, shoot, I like these a little bit more than the topics.
Just the
because,
interviews just keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
yeah, and kind of like what you were saying, Sam, is like you get this back seat to the other person's story and you kind of understand them a little bit more. And I just love hearing everyone's stories and little nicks and stuff. So, but yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
So that's
Sorry.
it's great. It's a great take to have.
Just trying to breathe there for a minute, and I forgot
no.
how to breathe. I had to manually read.
I looked over and you were leaning all the way back, and I'm like, and Sandy going to die. This is going to be the Gabe and Ryan show. Sorry,
Yeah,
all
no,
very
I
stressful.
think-
No one would listen to the Gabe and Ryan show.
No.
Everyone's here for
Just for me. Feed my narcissism, boys. Feed it.
We got to feed your ego somehow.
Somebody has to. But no, I think so far, we are absolutely where we need to be.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a lot of fun things planned for the coming future. I mean, sneak peek, coming very soon, we're going to have the traveling man himself, Jim Hall.
Have you confirmed that? Or
We have confirmed
Okay.
that.
I want to make sure you're not like, yeah, we've done this,
Nope,
and then
that is confirmed.
like, no.
We will have that.
Okay.
So be looking forward to that very soon. And then, like you were talking about,
right?
Scottish Rite, and well, that would have already come out by this episode.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then we're going to Grand Lodge.
Yep.
And I'm really looking forward, listeners. We're going to have a table set up there, and I am going to, you'll be able to find us. We have this really cool banner that Brother Turco made, and we will be bringing our equipment with us. So if you are willing, we would love to have you sit down with us at Grand Lodge, and I would love to hear your story. We might not be able to do a full hour for you, but I'd love to sit down and chat with you and get you down. And, tell us your experience at Grand Lodge. Tell us your experience of, being a Mason.
And we can do a big cut episode. It can be like an hour-long episode, but it's all
Multiple guys.
5-10 minute interviews with guys at Grand Lodge. We can call it the Ohio Grand Lodge 2024 experience.
Oh, no, I'm calling it Stories from Grand Lodge.
Ooh, I like that.
And I know there's a few listeners out there that are probably going to be at Grand Lodge. That are very much like me and hate getting behind a microphone and think, oh my God, 10 minutes? That's way too long. You would be surprised when you start telling your story or start answering a question.
It'll fly.
How that? Because like these hour interviews, you're thinking like, God, how do they sit here for an hour? And you look down at the recording and you're like, oh, we're already 42 minutes in. Holy cow. What's
Right.
another 18 minutes? Like, we're already 3/4 of the way done.
Yeah.
It just flies, and it always starts off the same. Then disagree with me if you will, brothers, but it starts off where you're almost pulling teeth. Like everyone's very shy and not wanting to say, but then 10 minutes, 15 minutes into it, they're just going off, and they're
Other than Charlie Murphy, I agree 110%.
yes,
Yeah.
but Charlie's very easy to talk to.
Yeah.
And he loves to talk about Masonic history, his story, and everything. He's a great guy.
Well, he's a great speaker.
I do have to say, though, I really did like his episode, too, because Charlie is a very strong,
presence.
almost like a mascot for Masonry. And I don't mean to cartoonify him, but he is like Mr. Mason.
In Ohio, yes.
I mean, I can't joke with you enough. Like, he goes to a Masonic function almost every day of the week.
Yep.
And twice on the weekends.
I can't tell you how many times I've went somewhere where Charlie's there or with Charlie, and brothers are coming up to him and, hey, and I'm like, what did I just say? And he's like, oh, it's so-and-so from District 1 or District...
He travels so much.
You know how I generally break the ice at Masonic events that I don't know anyone? I ask them if they know Charlie Murphy, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, I know Charlie Murphy. And then I'm like, I know Charlie Murphy too. I'm at his lodge. And
But at his home lodge.
Yeah,
name dropper.
I was at a lodge out in the Cleveland area, actually the home lodge of Most Worshipful Brother Tom Gallion, who obviously knows Charlie. All the past Grandmasters probably know each other, but they all knew Charlie.
Right.
This is some random lodge in the Cleveland area,
Right.
So,
But anyway, back to the whole Grand Lodge.
Yeah,
thing.
not trying to just
Yeah.
talk about Charlie. He's
Sorry.
a great guy, but let's get back on topic.
But,
this
yeah.
isn't the Charlie Murphy show. This
Well,
is the third.
It could be. We could make the Charlie Murphy show. But anyway, no, I'm really looking forward to Grand Lodge because I'm really looking forward to meeting some of you guys because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of you there. Come up to the table, come see us. We want to say hi to you. Bring your lodge brothers if they have never seen it, seen the show. Come on up and have them meet us. We're just normal guys just like you. We just, thought we'd be fun on the radio, and turns out I hate my voice, but I power through it every day.
It's times like this where I wish I had the NPR's like breaking news.
Yeah, right. Breaking news. Brother Wilburn hates his voice.
So-
But anyway, we have so much planned for you guys, craftsmen. I mean, and it's just going to keep coming. And I'm really hopeful for the future.
I mean, I don't know if you guys are good, but to kind of wrap this episode up, I guess the whole point, if you will, is we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to hear what we're doing good at, what you guys want to hear in the future, what you really love about our episodes. What episode's your favorite and why? I mean, I personally comment on our Facebook, tag us in a post. We'd love to hear from you because we're not going to get better unless you guys.
Correct. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. Leave us 5 stars if you're feeling very, very generous. But it's the only way that those algorithms will help push our show to other Masons and to show up in searches. And, you know, I'd even take 4 stars, maybe 3. Doesn't matter at this point, but
4.
4.
Yeah. Let's be careful there.
Right.
We don't need a 2 or 3. Like, oh, cool.
Well, we got a couple of 2s on there, but there's no actual comment. So I'm assuming that there's somebody that thought we were gonna tell them where the treasure was. But
Probably.
But on that note, Craftsman, thank you for sticking with us on this journey, and we look forward to continuing on and providing you even more content. So remember, Craftsman,
keep your working tools in order.
And always be on the level.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of the Grand Lodge of Ohio, its officers, or any of its jurisdictions, and only reflect those of the hosts.